He insisted on their deference. He yearned for their allegiance. The same notion of a patriarchal family, kept together by his unflinching power, served as the foundation for his empire. All of us have heard the announcements. What is the role of the nanny? Barking would make his kids' independence seem like a hassle. We've seen the tirades about loyalty and respect. Threats with a thin veil that demand complete obedience. Not to mention the clinically detached denial of Isabel's trying battle with. Her urgent need for surgery for scoliosis was dismissed as a personal slight to his want for the family to remain together. Ultimately, though, the very kids he was trying to manage, whose compliance he valued above all else, would only ask for one thing from him: protection. From the guy himself, not from financial collapse or public scrutiny. If you enjoy Sister Wives and are as interested in this family's journey as we are, before we get into this shocking tale, and you should hit the like button immediately if you want to keep up with every turn. Additionally, if you haven't already, hit the notification bell and subscribe to the Sister Wives Crew channel. We provide you with exclusive updates that you won't want to miss. This story is revolutionary, unheard of, and will permanently alter your perspective on the Brown family. You must be present for this, I assure you. The unprecedented protection petition. Sister, family, friends, aficionados and wives, get ready. We're not talking about your average family quarrel. It's not a book deal that reveals everything, and it's definitely not just another exaggerated story from the gossip column. This is something far more serious, far more important from a legal standpoint, and, to be honest, far more damaging to Kody Brown and the reputation of his polygamous business as a whole. We're discussing insider information and unique theories that have surfaced from the depths of the Flagstaff legal. A legal action that has shocked the Brown family and others has been suggested by circles and close to production. We're hearing rumors that 4 of Kody's adult children, Gwendolyn, Pedden Hunter and Isabel Brown, have jointly petitioned for a plenary order of protection against their father, Kody Brown. These rumors have been confirmed by several sources who prefer to remain anonymous because of the extreme sensitivity of the situation. Give it some time to sink in. This is not a money lawsuit. It has nothing to do with property. Separation. This is a direct request to the court for protection, separation, and a legal buffer from a parent. These young adults, who are Kody's own blood relatives, have said that they believe they require legal protection from him. It's not easy to get a plenary order of protection. It's a severe legal tool that's usually saved for cases of harassment, stalking, or domestic abuse. It says a lot about the claimed seriousness of the matter that adult children would seek such an order against their father. And our exclusive hypotheses and investigations indicate that the reasons for this petition are both damning and complex. A persistent pattern of emotional abuse and coercive control. The legal team that is allegedly working pro bono or at drastically discounted rates on behalf of Gwendolyn, Pedden Hunter and Isabel has presented a specific and terrifying case, claiming that the psychological toll on these young adults has reached an intolerable level. The main focus of their dispute is Kody Brown's alleged pattern of coercive command. They assert that he punished any deviation and imposed complete obedience by using his self-proclaimed patriarchal power, his considerable financial clout as the family's only reliable provider, and, most pernicious of all, the deliberate withholding of love and contact. Let's dissect this, as, although we don't often hear the term coercive control in relation to reality TV, it's a very real and pernicious kind of abuse. It's not just about one blow, or an outright danger. It's about a pattern, a web woven over years, that erodes a person's sense of independence and value, making them believe that their very survival depends on appeasing the abuser. Reminisce about the first seasons. Kody's statements regarding the principle, my spouses, and the necessity for my kids to follow my example. We might have written it off at the time as standard patriarchal rhetoric, or even as a polygamist community cultural norm. However, as the show developed and as the kids got older, we began to notice the flaws. We began to observe how that power evolved into something far harsher. Our sources claim that the legal team painstakingly gathered years' worth of evidence, much of which was broadcast on national television. At this point, the sister wives' behavior becomes a crucial piece of evidence, a documented account of Kody's purported tendencies. According to reports, the meanings behind every confessions, contentious family gathering and seemingly inconsequential remark were carefully considered. Although there are already leaking snippets of information, the court processes were supposed to remain extremely confidential. The children's legal team brought in specialists in addition to anecdotes. The specialist in psychology, Exhibit A. We are informed that a forensic psychologist assigned by the court provided one of the most important pieces of evidence. This impartial expert was assigned to examine Kody Brown's behaviors on video, his relationships with his kids, his spouses, and how he handles disagreement. Additionally, sources state that the testimony was unsettling. According to the psychologist's testimony, Kody Brown's behavior on camera, his word choice, and his interaction patterns showed several clinical indicators that were typical of a narcissistic and emotionally abusive parent. It's more than just a label. This clinical evaluation is founded on accepted psychological frameworks. Let's examine what that implies. According to reports, the expert emphasized, Kody frequently uses transactional language when discussing love. Recall times when Kody would either overtly or covertly associate his love, his presence, or his money with a child's compliance or agreement with his position. Consider how he expected his kids to provide for the family. Support his idea of the family, frequently at the price of their own personal wants or needs. Think back to Janelle's early years with Logan and Hunter, her sons. Kody frequently commended their accomplishments, their intellectual ability, and their readiness to meet his standards. When they were good, he seemed to really enjoy their company. However, the dynamic changed significantly when Pedon, Garrison, and Gabriel started to stand up for themselves, to challenge his choices, or to support their mothers. The warmth and approbation seemed to vanish, to be replaced by distance, criticism, and coldness. The expert most likely mentioned this transactional aspect of love. If you behave as I do, you have my love and support. Would like you to. It sets a risky precedent by teaching kids that love is acquired by subservience rather than being given freely. According to reports, the expert also mentioned Kody's habit of publicly humiliating his kids. How many times have we witnessed Kody criticize his kids' relationships, attitudes, and decisions on public television? It was more than simply rough love. The expert probably contended that this was a purposeful strategy to control them by humiliating them and instilling a fear of public displeasure, understanding that their father was the one who told millions of people about their alleged shortcomings. Consider the constant arguments, especially in the early years with Janelle's boys, Garrison and Gabriel. It wasn't simply dirty laundry when Kody publicly portrayed them as rude, disobedient, and choosing their girlfriends over their family. That is, his rules. Allegedly, it was a type of public humiliation intended to separate them, sway public opinion against them, and exert pressure them back into his embrace. He kept repeating how they had treated him disrespectfully. The expert would probably contend that this strategy is extremely harmful to a child's growing sense of autonomy and self-worth, particularly when it originates from a parent who is meant to be their guardian. Imagine being on national television and having your own father criticize your character. Such public humiliation can have serious and enduring psychological effects. The infamous us versus them family story is another. According to reports, the psychologist saw how Kody constantly sowed discord in the family, frequently setting Robyn and her kids against the other wives' kids. This was no accident. According to the hypothesis, this was a planned tactic to keep power by encouraging competition for his favor and denigrating anyone who didn't fit his ideal dynamic. He would constantly mention my devoted kids or bemoan the disintegration of particular bonds, usually suggesting that the kids were to blame. Disassociated themselves instead of his own behavior. The disloyal children contrasted the faithful five. Children who hear this type of parent-generated speech experience extreme psychological stress and anxiety, which forces them to take sides or feel excluded. In addition to creating animosity and undermining family unity, it firmly establishes Kody as the last judge of who is allowed and who is not. Insider reports state that the experts' testimonies came to the conclusion that these actions are more than just personality traits, peculiarities, or different approaches of parenting. They are clinical indicators of a practice of emotional abuse and psychological manipulation intended to preserve total authority and control inside the family, with Kody unquestionably at its top. In a legal context, it would be devastating to hear a court-appointed expert explain this as a professional evaluation rather than conjecture, offering unbiased clinical support for the kid's allegations. It uses the individual's subjective perception of being harmed. and wronged, and it is based on acknowledged psychiatric disorders. The punishment scheme is shown in Exhibit B. However, the psychological evidence represented just one part of the story. According to reports, the children's attorney produced a comprehensive behavior pattern chart. There was no question regarding Kody's purported control methods after hearing a timeline that was both visual and chronological. There was more to this chart than a list of complaints. The children's claims of independence were carefully recorded to correlate with Kody's immediate, punitive responses. This methodical technique showed that Kody's claimed abusive behavior was consistent and intentional. According to our sources, this chart contrasted certain instances in which the kids acted independently or disagreed with Kody's recorded answers. The trend was purportedly sharp and constant, demonstrating a blatant use of punishment as a tool for manipulation. Let's examine a few of the most important instances that probably would have appeared on this chart, using straight examples from What Sister Wives has shown us. Brown Isabel. It was devastating to watch her fight with scoliosis. She longed for release from excruciating bodily and emotional suffering. The very fact that she required essential medical assistance was her independence. She wanted to have the surgery she needed to end her pain and enhance her quality of life. There was no insurrection here. It was an urgent request for health, which is a basic human right. Kody's recorded response. The graph would have shown his direct withdrawal, both physical and emotional. Citing COVID worries, he famously declined to accompany her to New Jersey for the surgery. However, he made it clear that he wanted the family to remain intact, which he defined as his ideal of the family in Flagstaff. His comfort and his insistence that everyone follow his family structure came before Isabel's suffering or her immediate medical needs. It wasn't just a lack of presence. It was a deliberate denial of consolation, assistance, and defense during the most frightening and vulnerable moment for his daughter. He publicly criticized her on the show, voiced his displeasure about the expense, and insisted that her decision to get surgery was somehow a violation of his needs. All of these were purportedly kinds of discipline. He effectively withdrew his fatherly affection, his comfort, and his presence, because his idea of how the family should function didn't coincide with her need for surgery. Christine was left to bear the weight by herself, which had a profound effect on Isabel. Brown Pedden. Pedden was an outspoken person from the start, not hesitant to express his thoughts or show his emotions. He showed his independence in a variety of ways. His choice to enlist in the National Guard frequently conflicts with Kody's original preferences. His candid and unrelenting criticism of Robyn, as well as his eventual departure from Flagstaff and start of his own life. His spat with Robyn, which persisted in the following seasons, directly challenged Kody's preferred wife and by extension of Kody's power and his meticulously crafted story of a cohesive family. Given Kody's recorded response, the chart would have shown a distinct trend. Whenever Pedden disagreed, especially with Robyn, Kody's reaction was usually an instantaneous emotional retreat. He would grow aloof, chilly, and frequently contemptuous of Pedden's emotions, even making fun of them at times. On the broadcast, we witnessed him openly criticize Pedden's decisions or persona, either directly or indirectly, calling him difficult, impolite, or exaggerated. Perhaps worst of all, Kody apparently stopped communicating, indicating that Pedden's misbehavior meant less fatherly engagement. Pedden has publicly discussed Kody's erratic communication and emotional detachment, especially after arguments occurred, saying that Kody would frequently stop talking to him for long stretches of time following a dispute. The legal team would contend that this was more than just a bad relationship. It was a planned punishment for opposing Gwen Brown, the alleged matriarch of Kody's preferred family unit, and for having the audacity to hold an independent opinion. Like many of her siblings, Gwen developed into a strong, self-reliant young lady with a good sense of observation and a sharp sense of humor. Her independence, especially in a polygamous, religiously conservative household, was demonstrated by her sexual orientation and her open, frequently critical opinions about the dynamics of the family, frequently supporting her mother Christine. Viewpoints on social media and in confessionals. Finding her partner and coming out as bisexual were two aspects of her self-discovery journey that demonstrated a great deal of bravery and personal liberty. Kody's recorded response. Although Kody has never publicly denounced Gwen's sexual orientation on TV, Our sources indicate that the pattern of punishment took the form of more subdued but no less harmful manifestations. And growing emotional distance from Kody would have been indicated by the behavior chart pattern. A discernible decline in his involvement with Gwen, especially as she grew increasingly self-reliant and outspoken in her criticism of Kody's behavior and support for Christine. On the show, there would be public disparagement incidents, subtle insults or hints that she was being disrespectful by supporting Christine's opinions or by not showing enough respect for his authority, rather than outright attacks may have been used. And crucially, a persistent lack of care and connection, which made Gwen feel as though her father had neglected her or neglected her just for being her true self and for defying his demands for secrecy and familial allegiance. The legal team would contend that her independence is the direct cause of this pernicious kind of emotional neglect. Brown Hunter, who was well known for his intelligence, calm nature, and job focus, frequently made an effort to avoid getting caught up in family conflict. Even so, Hunter unintentionally demonstrated his independence by quietly pursuing his own course in life and by openly and resolutely supporting his mother, Janelle. Ironically, his self-reliance, his wish to further his education, his eventual nursing job, and his departure from the immediate family circle, put him outside of Kody's direct authority and control. Even while Kody's recorded response to Hunter's independence was reportedly less dramatic than that of Pedden or Isabel, it reportedly followed the same pattern. The behavior pattern chart would have painstakingly recorded the times when Hunter made his own decisions, or subtly helped his mother, which caused Kody to become emotionally distant. Although Hunter is frequently commended for being the good kid who mostly avoided trouble, family sources indicate that as Hunter grew more independent and put his career and relationships ahead of being physically present in Flagstaff under Kody's direct influence, their interactions grew more surface level. The public was subtly disparaged, possibly as a result of, in general, Kody's concerns about children not putting their families first or following his instructions were implicit. These included children who chose to live independent lives and a persistent refusal to engage in deeper, meaningful contact in favor of superficial exchanges devoid of real emotional connection. As he carved out his own independent existence, Hunter too supposedly encountered a father who grew more emotionally detached and aloof, viewing his kids' independence as a personal slight rather than a normal aspect of maturing. According to reports, this behavior pattern chart clearly showed a cause and effect relationship. Every major step these kids took toward independence, every challenge to Kody's authority, and every independent thought or emotion was met with a calculated, painful reaction from their father, which could take the form of a public slight, a withdrawal of affection, or a break in meaningful communication. The legal team would contend that this shows a deliberate and transparent coercive technique. Control, a purposeful behavioral pattern intended to uphold authority and penalize disobedience. There was more to the children's legal team's presentation than a list of instances. They were telling a powerful story of systematic abuse in which Kody's comments, silences, and abstentions were all intended to uphold his will and penalize subversion. Here the stakes are quite high. This is not about retaliating against their father for these kids' concerns, recovering their identity, their mental health, and their freedom to live freely without worrying about emotional reprisals. It's about saying enough is enough and putting a line in the sand. After weeks or even months of rigorous closed-door sessions, expert testimony, comprehensive charts, and emotional testimonies from the children and other witnesses, a crucial step to safeguard the children's privacy and provide a fair trial despite Kody's public persona. The truth moment came. If these insider rumors are accurate, the judge's decision will permanently change how the public views Kody Brown and the legacy of sister wives. She is reputed to have experience with complicated family court matters and is renowned for her straightforward style and in-depth knowledge of domestic dynamics. In a surprising and genuinely unique decision for a well-known public figure like Kody Brown, the judge awarded Gwen Pedden Hunter and Isabel Brown the plenary order of protection. According to reports, this injunction is in effect for a period of 2 years. To reiterate, this is not a short-term restraining order. This is a long-term, complete protection strategy because it is a plenary order. It means that the court discovered strong and convincing proof that the petitioners, Kody's own kids, were indeed in need of legal protection from him because of a manifest history of abuse. Such directives are not given carelessly. The children's legal team undoubtedly satisfied the high burden of proof they demand. This decision has enormous ramifications. Many people have always thought that Kody Brown's parenting style went beyond simple quirkiness or cultural differences to include emotional and psychological abuse, and this court confirmation confirms their suspicions. This is not a straightforward stay-away order. It's a significant ruling about Kody's relationship with his kids, deeming his actions detrimental and necessitating formal legal action. In essence, the court concurs that he abuses people emotionally. Our exclusive theories and leaked facts suggest that the judge's ruling is a complete shock. It lays forth precise, legally binding limitations on Kody Brown that are intended to protect the children's welfare and radically change the power dynamic in addition to establishing distance. These aren't recommendations. There are severe legal repercussions for breaking these court-mandated prohibitions. First, Kody is prohibited by law from contacting the petitioners without their consent. Declare initiation. This implies that unless they contact him first, Kody is unable to call, text, email, message on social media, or try to get in touch with Gwendolyn, Pedden, Hunter, or Isabel. This transfers all communication responsibilities to the kids, giving them authority over the parameters of interaction and protecting them against unwelcome or coercive touch. This is a big deal for a parent who allegedly controlled the rules of relationships and used communication as a reward or punishment. Power reversal. It's an acknowledgement that his previous interactions with the kids were frequently done for his personal control rather than their benefit, and that they ought to be released from that pressure. The ruling also reportedly prohibits Kody from publicly discussing the petitioners or their moms on any media platform, including the television program Sister Wives, which may have even greater implications for the show's future. Take a moment to process that. This implies that Kody Brown is no longer able to utilize the Sister Wives platform, or any other media outlet to talk about Gwendolyn, Pedden, Hunter, Isabel, or their mothers Christine, Janelle, and Meri, or his social media profiles or interviews. It's a game share. Kody has long used the program as a public therapy, a personal confessional, and a platform to vent his frustrations and mold narratives, often at the expense of his children and ex-wives, who had limited means of defending themselves against his public representations. This part of the order is specifically made to prevent the same public humiliation and denigration that the professional psychologist recognized as a crucial indicator of emotional abuse. It gives them a level of privacy, respect, and protection they have never had before, depriving him of his power to shape the public's perception of these people. Consider the effect on the program. If Kody is unable to talk about his prior wife or most of his adult children, who are essential to the idea of Sister Wife and its whole history, how can the program go on? This order successfully keeps him quiet about the topics that characterize his public life. Third, a distinct physical barrier is purportedly established by the order. Kody is not allowed to approach their private homes within 500 feet. This gives the kids a concrete physical safe haven where Kody can't show up unexpectedly, try to engage with them, or pry into their private life. For many who have experienced their father's unpredictability and relentless scrutiny, this physical separation is a potent emblem of their newly acquired independence and safety. They have control over who enters their personal space thanks to this legal fence that safeguards their tranquility, privacy, and emotional boundaries. The judge wasn't finished, though. A requirement for any future family reunion therapy is apparently mandated by the order, which is being regarded as a final devastating blow. The judge ordered Kody Brown to finish a 24-week court-certified batter before any attempts at reconciliation could begin, concentrating especially on coercive control and patriarchal abuse. This is arguably the most important part of the entire decision. It goes beyond a simple smack on the wrist. It's an order for drastic, fundamental behavioral transformation. Those who have exhibited a pattern of physical or emotional abuse in a domestic setting are usually the only ones eligible for a batter's intervention program. It is obvious that requiring a program that focuses on coercive control and patriarchal abuse, and clear-cut legal conclusion that Kody Brown's actions were abusive and stemmed from a problematic use of power in a patriarchal setting. It's a formal legal diagnostic of his behavior that requires him to face it head-on and change it through professional, structured intervention. The goal of this program is to re-educate people about power disparities, healthy relationship dynamics, and how their actions affect victims. It admits that his management approach went too far into mistreatment. According to our accounts, the judge's closing remarks then reverberated throughout the courtroom, a forceful proclamation that will surely have an impact well beyond the confines of the legal system. According to reports, the judge said this with a sense of conviction and total finality. Obedience cannot be exchanged for a father's affection. The main responsibility of this court is to shield children from additional psychological manipulation, not to maintain a family's reputation. The love of a father is not a commodity that can be exchanged for compliance. The core of the decision is captured in this one sentence. It specifically covers Kody's purported transactional parenting style, his propensity to dominate others by denying them affection and support, and his demand for submission in return for his acceptance. Delivered from the highest authority, it is a total rejection of his parenting philosophy, which holds that true love is unconditional and cannot be used as a weapon. Additionally, the assertion. It is equally devastating that the court's responsibility is to shield the children from additional psychological manipulation rather than to maintain the family's reputation. It firmly prioritizes the psychological well-being of the children over any public relations concerns or Kody's desire to maintain his image as the compassionate patriarch. Even though it acknowledges the public nature of the Brown family, the pressure to maintain a certain facade, and the necessity of maintaining appearances for a reality television show. It's an affirmation that the court is only concerned with the welfare of the parties who are most at risk and sees through the public spectacle. If these insider rumors and exclusive speculations are true, this decision is a seismic event. A court has formally labeled a reality TV celebrity as an emotionally abusive dad, and his own children have issued an order of protection against him. It utterly destroys the meticulously crafted story of the Brown family as a devoted, if unusual, family. It tears off the veil, revealing a more sinister, unsettling truth that has been brewing for years. There is more to this than familial turmoil. This is a precedent in the law. If our insider rumors are to be believed, the instant fallout from this historic court decision rocked not only the Brown family but the Sister Wives cast as a whole. Imagine the confusion, fear, and haste to contain the damage. This is more than just a personal setback. It's a disaster for business. Based on our exclusive. However, Kody Brown's immediate response was said to be one of intense shock, which was followed by a fit of rage. According to family sources, he was completely unprepared, believing that his kids would never act in such a severe way or that a court would never make a decision that would so categorically rule against him. He probably believed it to be the height of disdain and treachery, a total betrayal of his patriarchal power. In an instant, his world, which was based on his own view of himself, was destroyed. We hear murmurs. According to production sources, the Sister Wives group turned into a pressure cooker. How can a family reality show be filmed when the patriarch is legally prohibited from talking about 3 of his 4 wives and the majority of his children? These connections and their interactions form the basis of the show's whole premise. Kody is not merely put on a gag by this order. It essentially stops the broadcast from discussing its main topic. According to reports, the network that produced Sister Wives, TLC, was in a situation never seen before. Awful. The crew would have been frantically going over the ramifications. Kody's viewpoint, his conflicts with his wife, and his interactions with his kids have always been central to the show's plot. Since he is now legally prohibited from discussing these subjects, the show's core is undermined. Production may be rushing to reinvent the show, according to our exclusive theories. Maybe concentrating on the children's independent life or on Robyn and her kids alone. However, without Kody's story, structure, how engaging would that be without the drama he creates? What about Robyn Brown? According to our insiders, Robyn was allegedly quite conflicted and sad. She is devoted to Kody on the one hand. She has continuously defended his story, his regulations, and his victimization. Seeing the children's behavior as a malicious attack, she would probably be incensed on his behalf. But there's more than one layer. Kody and Robyn have children together. Although they weren't. The judge's conclusions regarding Kody's coercive control and patriarchal abuse in this particular petition may potentially have an impact on how he raises all of his children. According to our exclusive theory, Robyn may have to face the legal and public ramifications of Kody's actions for the first time, not just as a protective wife but also as a mother. Would this decision compel her to examine herself and even consider the dynamics in her own personal family with Kody? Or would she step up even more, retreating farther inward against the mindset of the outside world? The latter is more likely to happen, at least initially, according to sources, further separating Kody and Robyn from the rest of the family. And Meri, Janelle and Christine. Despite not being involved in the court cases, petitioners, their responses are nonetheless significant and reveal a wide range of feelings. According to reports, Gwen and Isabel's mother, Kody Brown, who has long fought for her kids' welfare, feels vindicated, tinged with deep melancholy. When Kody refused, she battled for Isabel's operation. She left a marriage in which she felt mistreated and unwanted. For her, this legal confirmation of Kody's emotional abuse of their kids validates all she left behind. According to sources, she probably feels a great deal of relief for her girls and maybe a painful realization that what happened to her wasn't just a terrible marriage but a pattern of domination. Pedden's fiercely independent mother, Janelle Brown. According to reports, Hunter, Garrison and Gabriel, who are known to have serious problems with Kody, are juggling a lot of different emotions. She has always put her kids' independence and contentment first. She and Kody remained friends for a long, but his treatment of their youngsters was the reason for their public split. Our exclusive theories indicate that this decision probably validates her darkest concerns over Kody's influence on her kids. She most likely feels incredibly proud of her sons, Isabel and Gwendolyn, for defending themselves and for being deeply saddened that this was the case. It's a legal acknowledgement of the hardship her kids have endured, and it might give her even more determination to break up with Kody. And Meri Brown comes next. Meri and Kody have had a history of emotional neglect, which is abuse in and of itself. The judge's conclusions are unquestionably pertinent, even though her children were not mentioned in this particular petition. According to our insider information, Meri may be going through a serious introspection. She endured Kody's coldness for years while she frantically sought his love and acceptance. This decision might make her reconsider her own decisions and possibly view her interactions with Kody through the prism of coercive control. Could this be the last indisputable evidence that the relationship she had for decades was abusive rather than merely complex? She can have a painful epiphany that validates what she knew instinctively but was unable to express or agree. If these unique theories came to pass, the public would go into a complete meltdown. It would go viral on social media. Worldwide trending hashtags include Justice for Brown Kids and Kody Eyes Abusive. Discussions, disputes, and a clear change in public opinion would be raging in viewer forums. Although Kody's actions have been criticized by many long-standing watchers for years, a court decision or statement would turn a mere opinion into verified reality. For reality TV, it would be a turning point, raising concerns about responsibility for prominent personalities whose personal lives are aired for entertainment. Kody Brown is not the only person affected by this decision. It addresses the more general problem of coercive control and patriarchal abuse in families, particularly those with established hierarchical structures. It is a powerful statement that the judge specifically ordered Kody to participate in a batter's intervention program that addresses these precise concerns. It recognizes that not all forms of abuse are physical aggression. It can be subtle, psychological, and extremely harmful, especially when it is disguised as family values or religious authority. According to the court's likely definition, patriarchal abuse is a pattern of behavior in which a male family member utilizes his stated or perceived authority, which is frequently based on traditional or religious beliefs, to dominate, control, and punish other family members, especially women and children. This control may show up as emotional withholding, financial manipulation, seclusion, humiliation in public, and requiring complete obedience while threatening to withhold affection or assistance. Many of the behaviors that Kody has been known to exhibit fit this category exactly. Let's now examine the more profound legal ramifications and what this means for Kody Brown in particular, going beyond the short-term limitations. First, the actual sequence of protection. Despite being a civil injunction, breaking it could result in substantial criminal charges, which could include arrest and jail time. This isn't a recommendation. Kody's freedom is directly at risk if he doesn't comply. He might be charged with contempt in court for every text, public statement, and presence within 5 feet of their homes. For Kody, who has mostly gotten away with it on his reality show, this degree of scrutiny and legal repercussion would be a whole different reality. The second is the obligatory 24-week program for batterers intervention. This is an important project. These courses are demanding, intense, and combative. They demand that participants own up to their abusive actions, comprehend the effects they have on victims, and pick up new, constructive coping and communication techniques. This program would be extremely challenging and humbling for Kody, a man who frequently views himself as the victim and issues with self-reflection and accountability. According to our exclusive theories, there would likely be opposition to his appearance and possibly even attempts to influence the proceedings. Court-certified programs, on the other hand, are made to recognize and thwart these strategies. Since his completion of the program is legally required for any possible future reconciliation, he bears full responsibility for changing rather than relying on his kids to get past it. Kody will have to face his firmly held beliefs because of the program's purpose, which is to particularly address patriarchal abuse and coercive control. He will learn that his ideas about loyalty and respect were actually control mechanisms. He will discover the psychological harm that comes from transactional love, public humiliation, and emotional withholding. His identity, manhood, and conception of family are all directly challenged by this. Dismantling a negative viewpoint is just as important as altering behavior. Thirdly, the effect on Kody's earning potential and public image. Kody Brown was a well-known, although contentious, public figure prior to this decision. He made money from the program, appearances in public, and possibly other endeavors. His reputation will be permanently damaged by this official accusation of emotional assault. Businesses may be reluctant to work with him. The number of speaking engagements would probably decline. Once an object of wonder, his position as the head of a numerous household is now clearly harmful. For him, this might have serious long-term financial consequences. What about the dynamics of the Brown family as a whole? According to our insider information, this decision may reinforce the familial conflicts, which further distances sincere reconciliation. Although they are not petitioners in this particular case, Janelle and Christine's children, Garrison, Gabriel, Melty, Aspen, and Savannah, have frequently voiced their own annoyances and feelings of alienation from Kody. They will definitely feel more empowered as a result of their siblings' legal success. It lends legal credibility to their common experiences. It reassures them that their emotions were real and that their father's actions were troublesome. This might result in more separating from Kody or even encouraging other grown children to request same safeguards if they feel the need. The impact on the broader family is incalculable. For any additional children in the Brown family or for children in comparable households that interact with the public, the decision also establishes a strong precedent. This case shows that even when parents are strong or charming, there are ways to be protected. It conveys the idea that being famous on reality TV does not absolve people of responsibility for their interactions. Behavior. The psychological journeys of Gwendolyn, Pedden, Hunter, and Isabel, the petitioners themselves, are likewise contemplated by our exclusive hypotheses. The process of submitting such a petition against a parent is emotionally taxing. It takes tremendous bravery, the ability to face deeply ingrained trauma, and the fortitude to challenge someone who has historically had a great deal of control over them. The actual court proceedings, the recitation of complaints, the expert witness, and lastly, the judge's affirmative remarks could all be extremely mending in spite of the challenges. It enables people to externalize the blame and realize that Kody's actions were a result of his personal problems rather than a reflection on their value. This edict is more than just a document. It is a legal document that upholds their rights to mental health, safety, and autonomy. It is an act of self-relimation in many respects. The road ahead is still complicated, though. Even while they are protected by law, the psychological wounds from years of claimed coercive control don't just disappear. For their long-term recovery, therapy, support networks, and ongoing boundary setting will be essential. Even after Kody finishes his required program, the question of whether genuine reconciliation is ever possible still persists. When trust is so severely damaged, it is very hard to regain. Let's think about the wider picture. The Sister Wife show has long been hailed as a look into plural marriage and an investigation of a distinctive family structure. However, over time, it turned into an inadvertent case study in Dysfunctional patriarchy. If verified, this court decision completely upends that narrative. It compels viewers to face the negative aspects of unbridled power and the dire repercussions of manipulating emotions. Is this going to be the last straw for sister wives as we know them? The show would be significantly hampered by Kody's legal inability to discuss important family members and major story points. According to our insider production reports, the network is considering its alternatives. Maybe a total rebranding that concentrates only on. It seems more believable to focus on the lives of the independent kids, or possibly a spin-off for Christine and Janelle rather than sticking with the existing structure. However, the original attraction, the Kody-centric narrative, would essentially end. It is a shocking fall from grace that Kody Brown, the self-proclaimed patriarch who frequently referred to his children as his legacy, is now legally prohibited from seeing them and is not even allowed to publicly mention their names. It emphasizes how significantly different a self-appointed authority is from genuine earned respect. The court's ruling serves as a clear reminder that basic human rights to autonomy and emotional safety must be upheld even in non-traditional family arrangements. Based on these intimate information and exclusive theories, the whole scenario is more than just reality TV drama. This is a momentous cultural occasion. It draws attention to the pernicious nature of emotional abuse, which is frequently disregarded or missed because it doesn't inflict any obvious wounds. It honors the bravery of young people who decided to take legal action against their own father in order to safeguard their mental and emotional well-being. It's a tale about empowerment, setting limits, and the uncompromising truth at last being revealed. As this potentially groundbreaking story develops, we will keep a careful eye on these events, sorting through every rumor and every source to offer you the most exclusive thoughts and observations. This marks a sea change for the Brown family as well as the whole reality TV scene and how we view family relationships on the screen. How do you feel about this extraordinary circumstance? Do you think Kody Brown has the capacity for introspection and transformation? What effect do you believe this would have on sister wives and the Brown family's future? Tell us in the comments section below. If you like this in-depth look, please subscribe to Sister Wives Crew and like this video for more in-depth analysis and exclusive content. Press that alert button so don't miss our upcoming update. We will be here at every stage of this story, which is far from over.